Very damp, very misty this morning. This is the E-flite Nieuport 17. A very, very lightweight and delicate little model, and tricky in many ways. It was tricky to assemble. You had to thread all these wires and adjust them to the right tension to try and get the wing curved right. Very tricky to do, very tricky to get a battery in without fouling the motor and whatever. It's very, very fiddly. It's got the fake motor. It's actually sort of attached to the little engine there. It's a Park 250 motor. It weighs, well, it weighs a bit now, but that's mainly the battery. It weighs, in fact, especially if you take out the motor and the battery, it weighs almost nothing. It's extremely light and very delicate. You have to handle it delicately to avoid breaking it. Just a little three-channel foam surfaces and some sort of very lightweight hollow plastic fuselage. It really is very misty. But then again, this is only a little slow three-channel thing, and I'm not going to take it very far away. And if I had to, I could probably cut the throttle and it would glide in, hopefully. Assuming we can get it to fly. I think I've got it reasonably balanced. It's tricky a little to get a battery in. You've not got a lot of room. You have to sort of slide it in under the cowling, but then you have to be careful not to slide it too far, else it pushes up against the back of the motor and stops the motor turning. A little chilly as well, but not as cold as it was, not frosty. Very, very delicate and lightweight, this guy. Very, very delicate. Got my standard little lemon 6-channel receiver in. I mean, I do put other things in sometimes, certainly, but that's unless I have some reason to use a receiver with more channels or with some special feature, what I do most of the time is put those little lemon 6-channel receivers in. They're a very good deal, and they seem DSMX receivers, lemon DSMX receivers, and then bind them to the DX9. They seem to, in my experience so far, not that I do it, he gets the tiniest little bit of wind under his wing and he tips over. There isn't much wind, but when even a hair of wind catches him, because he's very light. And of course you're controlling him entirely by the rudder. Yeah, there's a bit of wind there, and every time I go around there, the wind kind of gets under his wing slightly and pushes him over. Well, calling it wind seems like an exaggeration. The breath of air movement. It's really, there's a slight breath of air movement from behind me on my right, but it is only a slight breath of air movement. Actually, he might be a hair out of trim as well. I don't know, not necessarily really. It's just you tilt him any particular way and he just tends to keep going that way. But if you level him, he stays level, I guess. In some ways, I guess you could say this is a bit of an old-fashioned model. It's a sort of old 3-channel slow flyer. But then it is foam. I mean, it's not balsa and whatever. And there's wooden. The struts are wooden, although I don't know what basswood. I think probably they're not balsa, I don't believe. Can we loop it? I don't think I ever have. Will it loop? Has it got enough power even? I don't know. Sort of. Not very well controlled, I'm afraid, but I guess arguably
Time remaining 3 minutes.
it's. I wouldn't want to put too much strain on it either because it's very delicate. And those, in this case, unlike some planes, no, I was going to try and loop him again, but that didn't quite work out. He's not too stable side to side. I may not have got the wings curved exactly the way they're supposed to. And the whole support of the wings and their curvature is really and truly dependent on those threads. Unlike some planes where the threads are... Yeah, see, as soon as you start moving him faster, he tends to start developing roll instability. Yeah, so he's hard to do much with, really. I mean, with this Part 250 motor, he's got just enough. He's got power enough to loop, but he doesn't really like it much because he starts, as I say, as soon as you move him a bit faster, he gets unstable in roll. Well, he's not really meant to be an aerobatic plane, let's face it. No, I think we'll stop fooling around, especially since it's misty, and if I get too far away I won't be able to see what I'm doing. You can see the red light on the receiver there glowing as it's meant to. Should glow all the time. If it blinks, it means it got a brownout. So long as it's glowing steadily, you're good. That's what it's supposed to do. Well, he's very nose heavy.
Throttle cut on.
It's very hard to get him to land without nosing over because his weight is so much in his nose. Really, I mean, pretty much all his weight's in his nose. The nose doesn't stick out very far, but pretty much all his weight is the battery and the motor that in the nose. The rest of him weighs. It's unbelievable how light he is. You can hardly believe you're picking anything up when you pick him up without the battery. And that's even with the motor in. Obviously, I'm picking the motor out. Anyway, very delicate. You've got to be careful with him, but he seems to fly pretty well in his way, within his parameters. E-flite Nieuport 17. It was like sold as an ARF kit.